Right. Thank you so much. And welcome all to our third session, which we will begin with a slight recap of the last session. Okay, so those of you who have been following from the first session onwards, you would be aware of what we have covered, but I'll just, for the benefit of those who may have joined for the first time, I will give a recap. So in the first session, I made a disclaimer that this is work in progress, and and I have been presenting, or I have put together things which I have gone through. And ancient Indian literature is an ocean, and perhaps I have only covered a very small portion of it. And that too, perhaps there are still some gaps in my understanding, and I'll be more than happy for others to either correct those, challenge those, or work on those. Perhaps that is the bigger message I would like to kind of convey. I think it's important. We need to start working on or continuing the legacy where our rishis and gurus have left it. They have been researchers, and we have stopped researching for almost like 1,000 years, perhaps. And we need to get back to doing a lot of research. Needless to say, for that, I think it's important. We need to be much better with our understanding of Sanskritam. And please take up learning of Sanskritam in a serious way so that we can get better at it and do justice to these particular studies. So I set the stage by conceptualizing modern psychology, and I looked at the model of CBT, which I compared with Natya Shastra of the Rasa Siddhanta of Natya Shastra. We have covered that, and thereafter we moved on to another topic, which perhaps not wouldn't be in the same league as the exciting Rasa Siddhanta, but still, as these are all snippets of psychological kind of works that we can relate to in ancient literature. Mind you, the word psychology wouldn't have been mentioned in ancient literature as such, but we can make inferences. So we looked at the next topic was dependence, or loosely called as addiction. And we looked at mention of alcohol intoxication in the Rasa Siddhanta, the Natya Shastra. And then we then looked at the Kitava Ninda, that is the gamblers distress, the pathological gambling that we can associate with in the modern day psychiatric classifications. And we looked at that. We looked at a component of social psychology through Grihastha Dharma as presented through Arthashastra. And we also looked at a slight snippet of Sukhanashopadesha's Lakshmiya Chanchalyam, where prosperity or misfortune doesn't discriminate between those who are well off or not well off, and so on. Having done that, we then started the third topic, which was the spiritual component of holistic wellness. And I'll do a recap of it, and then we'll carry on. So the traditional components of modern day mental health are biological, social, and psychological components. Biological referring to the human being a machine, a biological machine of neurochemicals or electric impulses. And then therefore the treatments are designed around that. Psychological would be the mental makeup, the temperament that we grow up with, and then our coping skills, everything that shapes us, our personality. And the social are all the kind of aspects that we deal with our life circumstances, whether it is relations, job, schooling, marriage, politics, society, All those things put together would be social. But I was trying to emphasize that when it comes to treatment, we need to also incorporate spiritual component. And not just me, there are a lot of psychiatrists nowadays who, through the Royal College of Psychiatrists in UK, which I am part of, have formed the subspecialty or special interest group for spirituality in psychiatry. So there is recognition that spirituality is actually has a utility in holistic wellness. And we should actually do a lot more research in this area, because Sanatana Dharma is spirituality. It's not a religion. Sanatana Dharma is spirituality, and we need to really bring that to the focus. So in line with that, I'm going to talk about Atma Vidya, which I have spoken of in the last session. Patantu shastrani yajantu devan kurvantu karmani bhajantu devataha atmaikya bodhena vinapi muktihi na siddhyati brahma shatantare api. So no matter what methods of reaching God that you may practice, whether it is yajna like karma yoga, whether it is um, through bhajans, bhakti yoga, and so on, ultimately you still need to have the understanding that you are the Atman. Without that, you will not be able to make spiritual progress. Frankly speaking, spirit is Atma. The whole idea of Atma, a whole study of Atma, whole practice of Atma is spirituality. Without that, there is no concept of spirituality. We need to understand that. And that's very clearly spelt here. Why is it important that we need to learn and practice this? We will see. So we then looked at Sankhya Karika, how it gives us the understanding of Purusha, then Prakriti and Vikriti. Why is it again important? Sankhya Karikas or Sankhya Darshana gives us the very understanding of the elements of creation, and that in that whole process of creation, the Purusha or the Atma is the constant energy which is untouched and unmanifest, and also cannot be manipulated. And it is the knowledge, it's the pure knowledge, whereas everything else is created or which has the sattva, rajas, tamo gunas. So there are vikaras possible, whereas the Purusha or the Atma is avikara. And these are again very fundamental, important concepts for us to have an understanding of what the Atman is. And we also looked at the Anga Pangu, Anda Pangu story, where just to kind of drive home the message of Prakriti and Purusha, how they are interdependent on each other for to reach their goal. So Purusha has a goal to reach liberation or moksha or self-realization, let us say. It's ultimately liberation or moksha. But he cannot move. Purusha as such is achala, can't move. And whereas Prakriti can move, it is jada padartha, but it is not a chaitanya. Hence, for Prakriti to realize itself, realize in the sense it's not self-realization, but Purusha has a self-realization. Ultimately, it is all for Purusha. Again, Sankhya Karika very clearly kind of spells it out. Everything ultimately is Purushartha. Here, the Purushartha is given as the whatever is done is for the realization of the Purusha or the Atman. But they travel together. How? As I said, Purusha cannot move. It is like the one who has vision on the not the lame person who has the vision, therefore equates to knowledge. So Purusha or the Atman is the knowledge, but it can't move. So lame person, he can't walk. So he can't move from a place to place. Whereas the blind person in this story, he can move, but he doesn't have the knowledge, or it is not the knowledge. It is not the knowledge. Hence, they both go, let's say, from the forest, they have lost their way, and they need to reach the village. The lame person knows the way, whereas the blind person can't find the way. So both help each other. Once they reach the village, they go separate ways. They don't bother with each other. And that is how it is explained. Okay, and this is just the kind of schematic diagram of how Purusha is independent, has nothing to do with the creative process, whereas Prakriti, which is also unmanifest, Purusha is also unmanifest, Prakriti is also unmanifest, Avyakta, but it is not Chaitanya. Prakriti is not Chaitanya, which is, it's not the intelligent energy. Yes, Purusha is the intelligent energy. And Prakriti leads to Mahat, and that's how the creation takes place. Mahat and then Ahankara. Mahat is nothing but Buddhi, intellect, and then the Ahankara, the ego. And then we have the Jnanendriyas, the Karmendriyas, and the Tanmatras, and the Manas, and the Panchabhutas. This is why is this? This is not relevant for beyond us accepting that this is who we are. The Purusha is who we are, or I am, as Srinivas. That's not my name. I am actually nameless. I am the nameless, formless Purusha. But I stopped realizing it, and instead I'm actually getting stuck to or associating with all of these things. As a result, what's happening? I'm forgetting who I am. Now my whole exercise is to continue. Now that I've realized, I've listened to some sermon, I've heard or read Bhagavad Gita, or read Sankhya, Darshana, whatever it may be. I now realize that I am the Purusha. Then what is my job? My job is to continuously remind myself that I am the Purusha. Otherwise, it is very easy to get influenced and get stuck in what is not Atma or the Anatma. If I am actually caught with the Anatma, then my job of reaching my goal is lost. So that is why this schematic diagram is only for us to have this understanding that this is where we need to kind of have the understanding, necessary understanding. Okay, and then once we have an understanding of the Atman, if I have this understanding that I am the Atman, I then have the benefit of having several dharmic concepts at my hand. One is immortality. Atma is immortal. It is ageless. It is shashvatam. It kalatita. It has no time as such. So it's constant. If it is constant, which means I am constant. If I'm constant, it just basically means that I don't die. So it is that's an important concept we can actually exercise in cognitive understanding to help our psychological well-being. So immortality. I am ageless. I am immortal. I don't die. Universal love, samadrashti. That I am the Atman and everyone else here is also the same Atman, and I see myself in all of you, and I see all of you in me. Therefore, I treat myself the same as I treat all of you, and I treat all of you the same as I treat myself. So that's the universal love. That comes actually from the understanding that I am the Atman. Karma Siddhanta and reincarnation also are related to the idea that I am the Atman, because if I am the Atman, why am I taking birth through this Sharira? Oh, that's because as per Karma Siddhanta, there has been a baggage that I'm carrying, due to which I have been born. Not only that I have been born, I'm also born into a certain type of life, and I'm reincarnating at this time. And then the concept of satsangam, sat and sangam. I'm actually in association with sat. Sat is nothing but the truth, which is said here. And yeah, so these are the concepts which we need to really look at, research on them, and look at application. We can call it dharmic therapy, for instance, atma therapy. I call it soham therapy, which is what I have conceptualized. This is the list of various principles that can come up out of it. Shashvatam or Nirbhayam, Nishkama Karma, Sthita Pragnata, Nishchaya Buddhi, Samadrashti, Kshama, Karma Siddhanta, Punarjanma, Satya, Satsanga, Satsangam, Trikarana Shuddhi, Daya, Karuna. All these have applications. And applications in normal life, individual counseling, it is possible to incorporate this knowledge in individual counseling, family therapy, couple counseling, bereavement counseling, anxiety management, personality development, and so on. I mean, it is applicable everywhere. We will cover all this last time around. Now I'm going to start looking at some of the concepts. And we also have an important concept to cover today, which I'll not mention yet. Hopefully, we can cover it today. If we can't, then it will be in the next session, but I'll be hopefully covering it today. So the first one, which is understood as the essence of me realizing I'm the Atman, is that I am eternal or I am immortal. Imagine you have a pain, or you heard a bad news. You heard a bad news that you have an illness, and you only have this long to live. And suddenly you have all the emotions upside down, all the plans upside down, and all the thoughts are topsy-turvy, fearing what is going to happen to my family, what is going to happen to me. More importantly, I don't want to die. I have this I don't want to, I want to see my grandchildren grow. All those thoughts which come through. I think it is but natural. The only way to kind of understand is uncertainty. Uncertainty is anything that's going to happen in future that you can't plan for. And uncertainty leads to anxiety. Uncertainty of whether I'm going to have the job tomorrow or not. So that person is always anxious. Will I have a job or not? Uncertainty of recurrence of an illness. Will it recur or will it not recur? Okay, so that leads to anxiety. Just as physical pain, for instance, physical pain leads to fear. So when you experience body pain, you are actually kind of fearing the worst that's going to happen. Now, what happens is when you have a physical pain or mental distress, as long as you are associating yourself with the physical body, that you are the physical body, as long as you are associating yourself with the mind and the thoughts, the distress is going to trouble you. Now, I'm not saying that when you have the understanding of Atman, all these pains will just disappear. It doesn't work like that. What happens is this understanding that you are the Atman detaches you from, you are not suffering the pain. You are not the one who is suffering the uncertainties. You are above those things. But you are still observing your body and the mind going through the suffering. You are feeling the pain. But this approach reduces the suffering. It's almost like coping strategy. So I keep explaining, giving this example. Let's say you've been born when the cars were invented. When the cars were invented, it was no more than a horse carriage put on four wheels with an engine. And when it goes through the potholes, you would bounce up because there are no shock absorbers. That's the first prototype of a car. It will really bounce very high because there are no shock absorbers. But gradually they understood the need for shock absorbers, and look at how we have cars now. When they go through potholes, you are not jumping as high anymore, but you still jump a bit, which means it's been buffered quite well. So these strategies do not make you feel as if although you're going through the potholes on the road, it's like a smooth journey. No, it doesn't work like that. You will still feel the jerks. You'll still feel the neck ache, perhaps, whatever it may be. But it is much, much better than before. So that's exactly the way we need to look at it. Pain and suffering, whether it is physical or mental, when you understand that you are the Atman, you're allowing them to be shock absorbed, but they don't disappear entirely. So fear is generated when the mind assumes that the physical body and mind is me. So that is avidya, loosely saying. Whereas the true me actually is the Atman. So my understanding, my knowledge that I am the Atman is actually vidya, which is the permanent knowledge or the true knowledge or the truth. Whereas me associating with everything else is avidya. So when we associate with myself, you actually learn to kind of absolve a lot of the other stuff. So through the knowledge that I am the Atman and that Atman has no death nor is subjected to disease, one learns to let go of the fear of pain. But that requires a constant remembrance that I am the Atman. Sankhya very clearly say that you have to keep on contemplating, because Maya is so powerful. Maya will make you go back to feeling or believing that you are actually the body and the mind and everything else. Sankhya says, so through a repeated study of principles arises that knowledge of the external form. So it gives you an understanding that is all external, that is not you. Neither am I, neither I am, nor is it mine, nor do I exist. Those three are very important lessons. So I am not any of those things. So your vyamoha, mamakara, mama is mine. Mamakara goes away. Nor is it mine, that is not mine. Nor do I exist. I exist is ahankara. I exist. So I am different. When I say I exist, I'm actually saying I am different to everything else. So when I realize that I don't exist, which means that is the Atman. Atma doesn't exist as such. Okay, we don't need to go into the details of the concept there. But the point here is that knowledge has the ability to cut off or reduce the anxieties and the fears. So this is where we need to really start working on constant manana of this knowledge that I am the Atman. This is Sanatana Dharma at the end of the day. If people say that this is not Sanatana Dharma, then we are mistaken. This is Sanatana Dharma. This is the foundation of Sanatana Dharma. Everything else is secondary. Knowledge that is pure and that leaves nothing to be known and is free from ignorance, and that is absolute. That is the Atman. Now you may ask a question, are there really any real life examples who through research talk about the concept of immortality? Therefore, I'm presenting you Dr. Raymond Moody's declaration. Dr. Raymond Moody is a psychiatrist like me. He lived in America. He's no more. He has done a lot of research on near-death experiences. I won't again go into the details. If you are interested, please read his books. You can purchase his books through online, Amazon, whatever. And I suggest you read them. So near-death experiences have given him a lot of understanding, because most of the clients he had interviewed, and interestingly, he himself had a near-death experience. And through that, he came to understand through his clients as well as his own experience that he has no fear of death. I have absolutely no fear of death from the NDE research and my personal experience. Death is, in my judgment, simply a transition into another kind of reality. So that's the constancy of who I am, whether you call it Atma, whether you call it soul. It is a constant aspect. That constant constancy is me. Therefore, I am not dead. I am not dead. So where is the concept of death? Death is happening to the body which is carrying me. So that changes the entire, it's a cognitive shift. It changes the entire perspective. And this has to be realized, or it has to be practiced. Why do I say realized? Those clients who have had near-death experience, which basically means they were dead clinically for a few minutes, and in those few minutes, they had an out-of-body experience of either going towards a white light or having seen the divine presence, and the understanding that they are actually not dead. In fact, they are very much alive and they are immortal. And in their lives, there has been a significant shift where they were able to live without much of anxiety anymore. Any questions, any doubts so far? I'll be happy to pause for a minute or two, but please don't take too long. So understanding immortality through Bhagavad Gita. So we're still continuing with the same concept. Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipaha nachaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vaimatah param dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhiras tatra na muhyati. So natu eva aham jatu na asam na tvam na ime janadipaha. So Arjuna, neither me nor you nor any of these kshatriyas that are fighting the war here, there wasn't a time when we were not there. Nacha eva na bhavishyamaha. There isn't going to be a time when we will not be there. Okay. What does it therefore mean? We were always there. We will always be there. Can anybody say what it means? We have always been there. We will always be there. What
Atma is
inferences are you
immortal.
getting? Yes,
Atma is
Srinivas
immortal.
M. Please go ahead. You raised your hand.
Atma is immortal.
I can't hear you.
Atma is immortal.
You are not audible.
No, actually, we are. I am always there, and I'll be there to means that Atma is never born or it cannot be destroyed.
Hmm.
That's the main
Okay.
thing.
So that is what it means, isn't it? That
Yes.
we were always there. We will always be there. Obviously, means that we have three kalas: bhuta, bhavishya, vartamana. So when I was there in the past, and how do we define past? Anything in a regressive time scale beyond now, whatever the time, whatever the point we are at now. And similarly, anything Bhavishya would also have no time scale. It is going to be an eternal future. So if it is an eternal future and eternal past, essentially it has been there for, or it will be there for eternity. That is one thing we have learned from this shloka. I want to know if there is anything else we can learn from this shloka. I'll again repeat it. Neither me, neither you, neither any of these kshatriyas or the warriors, there wasn't a time when we were not there. There will never be a time when we won't be there. That is the essence, the translation. Any other inference that we can draw from this shloka?
No Jara and Marana.
Jara is not covered here. Marana, okay, I can accept. That is covered in the next one. That is Dehinasmin Yatha Dehe Kaumaram Yavanam Jara. So that comes in the next one. But I'm still interested in here, Srinivas ji.
Yeah, that means that we were there in the past and we are there in the present, and we, in the future will be going to exist.
No, that we have covered. So that is established. The immortality is established. You are saying we, who, okay, according to the shloka, who does we include?
I is
According
Atman.
Is it Paramatma in Atma?
Please go ahead. Describe to me a little more. Where did you get that inference?
That's my Swaminarayan religion, isn't it?
I understand, but where did you get that bit from this shloka?
No, I didn't. This is my general knowledge. In your Atma,
Okay,
in
perfect.
every Atma,
Okay. So let's look at who is
Paramatma.
okay. Who is speaking the shloka? Who is telling this line? It is
Lord Krishna.
It's Krishna. And who is he telling it to? It is to
Arjuna.
And who is he telling him about? He is also telling about the various people over there. Okay. Now I have no problem with Arjuna nor the warriors, because they are all humans like me and you. So we are all the Jivatmas. But interestingly, Krishna includes himself. And what is Krishna? Paramatma. So
Shall I add one more point?
Just a minute, please. I haven't finished yet. So if we understand it from this point of view, when Krishna says, "Oh Arjuna, neither me nor you nor these warriors," that what basically it means is there is no difference between you and me. That is an important lesson to understand too. Where does it help? It again helps in the universal love, the samadrishti. And there is, if we say that we can't take this way, there is another shloka in 4th adhyaya, Jnana Yoga, where Arjuna asks, "Aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha kathametat vijaniyam tvamado proktavaniti." You are making these tall claims that you were there before Surya and so on, but I only see, basically he's inferring that I see you in front of me here. How do I know that you really existed before Surya even existed? And to that he says, "Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava cha Arjuna. Tanyaham Veda Sarvani Natvaham Natvam Veta Parantapa." Yes, Natvam Veta Parantapa. So I had lot of lives, or I had lot of births. You had as well, which basically means we both have been having cyclical births. Now, obviously, Krishna chooses to be born. It's not a typical cyclical birth. But the point there is clearly categorically saying we are born again and again. So there is no difference there between you and me being born. The difference is that I know them all, you don't know them. That is the difference. But otherwise, it is the same Atman that is there in Paramatma and Jivatmas. Okay, somebody was trying to say something. Please go ahead.
No, just I wanted to add one more thing. Just as I exist, and that is, I existed, I am existing, and I will exist as Atma. This is what everybody is speaking now. I wanted to add one more point, that whatever words we utter, even they are always existing. They existed, they are existing, and the sound that has come in this, that is, whatever sound has come, either we speak or any other, that will always be permanently existing. So this point I wanted to add to our discussion.
Okay, thank you for that, but I'm not too sure whether we can infer that directly from this shloka here. We'll stick to the
Not
concept
from
of
this
Atma.
sloka, but for the discussion, just I am adding.
Yeah, so understand. So
Not as the summary meaning of this particular sloka.
okay, thank you. Okay, so we're trying to drive home the message of the immortality of Atma, and there isn't another way to put it. This is not a factual science. This is not a science where I can measure presence of Atma. It is completely dependent upon one's belief. And those who are fortunate enough to have realized, I'm not realized, I haven't seen Atma, neither have I seen Paramatma. I haven't experienced it, but I accept it conceptually because I have, from my research, there is a lot of conceptual consistency and I'm pretty happy to accept it. So it is individual's choice and it's individual's journey to imbibe this concept of immortality and see how it works for you. Okay. And then, of course, Bhagavad Gita very clearly gives a description of what Atma is. It's not born, nor does it die. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit. Na ayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyaha. So again, we spoke about the time, eternity, present, past, and so on. Ajaha, not born. Nityaha, always there. Shashvataha, Nityaha, some descriptions give Nityaha basically means no variations. Avikara, no variation. Shashvata is the eternity, eternal. Puranaha has been there for a very long time. Na hanyate, hanyamane sharire. The sharira is something which can be killed. But even in that sharira which can be killed, it doesn't get killed. The Atma doesn't die. Of course, there are other shlokas which are Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavakaha. In that, we hear about how Atma cannot be manipulated, it cannot be altered. Okay, so having understood that, we will also look at Taittiriya Upanishad's mention of Nirbhayatvam. Yato vacho nivartante prapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidvan na bibheti kutaschaneti. So that Brahman, which is beyond the grasp of speech and mind, basically, Indriya agochara, beyond grasp of mind, speech, or any senses, basically. If only known or realized to be true self of him shall become fearless. It may be a tall ask. It may be talking about realizing here. But as I said, if we actually follow the concepts as presented by the realized, and we are happy with its consistency in scriptures, then you can accept it and it will still help you to be fearless. Not the same as this experience, like how the near death experience helped all those clients to become fearless because they've experienced the immortality. But that is the whole point here. And then one is not subjected to fear at any time if one knows the bliss that is Brahman, failing to reach which words along with the mind turn back. It essentially means if we don't kind of appreciate it and stay in that constant knowledge, we fall back into the Maya Prapancha and get stuck with or associate with Anatma, everything that is not Atma, and fear starts coming back to haunt us. And it goes on further. This is also an important shloka as in mention. I'll read the English part. When the spirit aspirant sadhaka fearlessly establishes in that Atman, which is unperceivable, bodiless, and inexpressible, he reaches the state of fearlessness. However, when an aspirant's logical mind even develops the slightest difference, considering self to be different from Atman, then he becomes fearful. Hence, fearlessness. So, this is my addition here. My inference is that. So, above the first part was the translation, second bit is my inference. So, fearlessness, we can incorporate it in our own cognitive coping strategies, and it can be cognitively developed with the right spiritual understanding of my true self to be Atman. This helps us not only with spiritual progress, but in our day-to-day life as well. That is where I am interested. Spiritual progress anyway is inbuilt, but is there any benefit for me to practice spiritual concepts in day-to-day life? And this is where I want to drive home the message. All my webinars and workshops are all about mostly looking at what benefits can we bring to a human's life, reduce their suffering through Sanatana Dharma. Okay, so I'll pause again if in case anybody has any question. Okay. Yes, Srinivas.
Yeah, like about this, the fearlessness, the Atma is going to experience, right? That that fear will be always there, right? Without how can it easily experience means like attain that fearlessness?
The very word easy has no scope. Nothing comes easy. So please remove that easy part.
Okay, but
Even with the knowledge, even if you have the knowledge, even if I have the knowledge, constant remembrance has to be practiced, and you may even then you will still have to experience the suffering. The pain has to be suffered. The only advantage is you will, if you are an expert in practicing it, you will be able to minimize the distress that you are experiencing. If you are not an expert, you may still be able to kind of cognitively process it. So you may be sitting in that situation. Oh, my leg hurts. Oh my goodness, it's killing me. My leg is going to be amputated. My goodness, I can't walk. It's going to be very painful. I may have tingling sensation for forever in my life. So I know that. What am I doing then? I'm cognitively processing. Okay, let me take a deep breath. Actually, I've learned that I am the Atma. I'm not the Sharira. the Sharira is dying, or Sharira is the one whose part is being removed. The Sharira is the one which is having the pain. So is Atma, the real me, injured? No. Is the Atma, the real me, suffering the pain? No. Will it be losing life? No. It's the Sharira which is going to lose the life. So you're processing that information and you're helping yourself cope better. There are several other things which fall in place as you keep practicing it. Please do not expect Sanatana Dharma or spirituality to be unidimensional. Also, not to expect it to work wonders in a cross-sectional view. And you have to practice it, and over a period of time you master that particular principle. Let us say you pick up the principle of immortality, you practice on constant manana of Atma and figuring out that you are not the Atman. You constantly practice it day in and day out, and you see the results. Similarly, somebody may pick up Nishkama Karma, practice it day in and day out, see the results. Somebody may practice Samadrishti, see the results after a while, after a month, 2 months. Have you succeeded? Have you failed? If you failed, where did you fail? It is as difficult as that. Practice of Sanatana Dharma is as difficult as that if it is practiced this way. But it is easy also. It doesn't need to be complicated. We complicate it. We complicate it because we associate so many other things. If it was so easy, why are we born so many times? If it was so easy, why do we have so many ups and downs in our lives? No, therefore it is not easy. It is easily it can be easily proven there itself that it is not easy. But please don't mistake that if Sanatana Dharma is difficult to practice, then I'll change religion. The whole point is religions are not going to be Sanatana Dharma if they still don't understand the Atman concept and the very principles of the immortality and so on. If none of these are followed, no matter what religion is invented in this world, if it doesn't have the conceptual basic foundational knowledge of Sanatana Dharma, it will not help any person. So practice, practice, practice. That is what it is. That's why in Soham Vidya and our Hindu Mitra, we make it a point. Our training is all about understand, practice, declare. Understand, practice, declare. Understand, practice, declare. So that's the formula. Yeah. Can I proceed? Yeah, you want to say something again?
Yeah. Can we tell that all the people on this planet are the Sanatana Dharma followers? Means like they belong to Sanatana Dharma.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. We are all, everyone in this universe is born into Sanatana Dharma. Full stop. After they are born, it is the mind's vikara, it is the mental work that makes it choose a particular path. But ultimately, everyone is born into Sanatana Dharma. They always are in Sanatana Dharma. In fact, what is Sanatana? Eternity. What is eternal? Atma. The very Dharma of Atma is Sanatana Dharma. We are always there. So there's no question of Sanatana Dharma not being applicable to anybody. So you're absolutely right. Everyone's Dharma is Sanatana Dharma. Okay. All right. So we'll look at Karma Siddhanta quickly. Mind you, we do, I also do a 10-day webinar course on Bring Out the Best in You Sanatana Dharma way. There we go into a little more detail in all these concepts. And I am not a Shastragnya. If anybody thinks that I am an expert in Vedas and all that, my humble apologies. That is not what I'm posing to be. I am a psychiatrist. I have been learning Sanskrit, teaching Sanskrit, and also making humble progress in learning few things. But my basic foundational spiritual awareness, unknowingly, even before reading scriptures, has been well aligned with Sanatana Dharma. So this is my background into why I talk about all these things. So Dr. Brian Weiss is a trained psychiatrist and a past life regression therapist. And in one of the books, he says, karma should be understood as a cosmic law which relates to the causality and justice of all souls. Okay. In itself, it does not denote good or bad deeds. The key to growth is the understanding that we are given the ability to make midterm course corrections in our life. He further explains that reincarnation is to exercise free will and to achieve self-improvement. So eventually all lessons are learned and there is no rebirth. Last week, interestingly, I was actually having a discussion in one of our satsanga, where the lady was talking about another lady, her friend, who is currently having a very tough time, having had a lot of losses in her life, financial difficulties, and she expressed unhappiness that God is treating her this way and being punished. She is being punished. So karma is not just about bad things happening, or it is not about punishment. That punishment, that is the way we are looking at it. Instead, we need to again do a cognitive shift by replacing that word punishment with lesson. So instead of seeing that to be a punishment, it is to be seen as what lesson can I learn from this? And when you use that approach, then you start looking at what are those dharmic principles that apply. So rebirth or reincarnation is a requirement for the soul to be embodied in physical form due to karmic law, and rebirth is not a punishment. These expressions are consistent with ancient Indian scriptural findings. This is remarkable as the consistent documentation through various time, geographical, and culturally different settings demonstrates this to be the truth. I'm just not talking about the rebirth part alone, the karma siddhanta. So the various modern spiritual works that have come out of America, it's very interesting that none of the research is happening in India where it should happen. Instead, it's all happening in America and it will continue to happen. It will be a leader in spiritual research. And we can't just be not be doing research. We need to carry, as I said, that's the message I'm trying to drive as well. We need to continue the legacy of our ancient rishis and restart the research. So the modern research, spiritual research, and the ancient findings are very consistent in various aspects. Okay, so how do we kind of reduce the karmic baggage? It is obviously through practice of dharma, and I don't want you all to bore you too much, but just a slight difference. I see it this way: dharma refers to various duties and principles we should adhere to in this material world, so that our functioning is smooth in society, family, and in our individual life. So all those various things that we do in our day-to-day life is all dharma driven. Do not steal. Those are the simple sadharana dharmas. Then you may talk of a swadharma. Then you call something as grihastha dharma. These are all various duties and principles that have a big role for you to play a productive role in your own life, your family, and society. Whereas Sanatana, the very word, when we add Sanatana, automatically takes it to the eternity of the Atman, and that is what it refers to at the end of the day. Some would also say that Sanatana Dharma refers to the various concepts laid down by the rishis. I won't argue against it, but I don't want to kind of I don't think we need to go down that route, because once we accept Sanatana Dharma to have the foundational essence with the Atman, everything that rishis would have spoken of comes in line with it anyway. And so for me, the words are very important. Etymology is important. For every word, there has to be a specific meaning, and it should have accuracy, specificity, all those things. This is where coining of words is important. Sanatana as such means eternal. If it is eternal, for me, eternal, there's only one thing which is eternal, that is the Atman. And therefore, everything that to do with the Atman is Sanatana Dharma. And if somebody says, no, 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 our rishis, whatever they have said is all eternal, okay, so be it. I won't dispute it. But for me, this is what it is. They are all inferred, is what I'm saying. Okay. And same goes with reincarnation. Interestingly, there is a research, a study, and I'm just summarizing it here, which I do mention in other places too. So there's a person called Lee Irwin who has published in 2017 an article called Reincarnation in America, a brief historical overview. So he says evidential sources from diverse fields of research, as well as a growing body of ethnographic and therapeutic accounts, strongly supports a historical trajectory in which reincarnation has become an increasingly believable possibility without dependency upon any specific religious conviction. So that's where, again, interesting, important findings from the modern world, rather than relying only on the ancient scriptures. But our topic is obviously psychology through ancient Indian literature. Perhaps we may be diverting here a bit. It's my responsibility not to divert, but I have no choice but to present some of these things so that we drive home the message, for us to set the stage for what is going to come in a few minutes' time. So the other component of Sanatana Dharma, apart from Atma, Paramatma, Karma, Punarjanma, is moksha. Because Atma, for some reason, following Karma Siddhanta, had taken Punarjanma, but it is craving to attain moksha. So this is the reason why these are mentioned here, because they're all associated. But for moksha, again, we have a formula, especially through Adi Shankaracharya, who says Manushyatvam, Mumukshatvam, and Mahapurusha Murusha Samashrayaha. So obviously, we need to look at Manushyatvam, which is human birth. That there are two parts to it. Why human birth? We looked at it earlier because of Karma Siddhanta. What about human birth is the next one. What do we do with human birth? What is the best way to treat human birth? And then Mumukshatvam. We may be born, but we need to have the desire to develop, attain moksha. So that's also durlabham. It is rare to have that. It is rare to have a human birth. And third one, it is also rare to have a Mahapurusha Samashraya. So we need to find Satpurushas. Hence the importance of Satsangam, which I hope to cover in session 4, the last session, next Saturday. So they all become important if we look at it from that point of view. In Bhagavad Gita, it says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabhaha. Again, there are two important parts there. One, to drive home the message, there are lots of births. One has to go through Bahunam Janmanam Ante. After so many births, will somebody understand me? Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Oh, ultimately, Vasudeva, the Paramatma, is the cosmic reality. That is what everything is, and that is me. Iti Saha Mahatma. So, those kind of people, Mahatmas, are Sudurlabha, rare also. But the point here is, many births are required. So, why waste human life? It should not be wasted. Adi Shankara also says the same thing. Jantunam narajanma durlabha tataha pumstvam tataha viprata tasmad vaidika dharma marga parata vidvatvam then
Vidvatvam asmat param.
vidvatvam asmat param
Atmanatma vivechanam
Atmanatma
swanubhavo.
vivechanam swanubhavo brahmatmana samstitaha muktirno shatajanma koti sukritaihi punyairvina labhyate. Essentially, it's a long formula again. I keep saying formulas because if we look at it that way, we understand things better. So among many kind of animal lives, human life is the rarest of the opportunity. And even among human lives, I will take it as a male. Life of a male is rare. Some may what what do you call it? So some may sugarcoat it and saying, "Oh no, Pumstvam basically means Atma." Well, I'm not too sure about it. I believe this must be male itself. So male being a male, and then among the male, being a Brahmana, having that Brahmana life. Now, why I'm prepared to take this as male and Brahmana and then so on, it is not a privilege. It is a responsibility. It is, in fact, an opportunity. If you are given the rarest of the rare opportunities, just like you are given a rare opportunity to be a human, if you are wasting it, you are the biggest loser. Similarly, if somebody is given the life of a Brahmana and you are wasting it, you are one of the biggest losers. So it goes like that, and it's a formula. You have to keep going one after the other until you understand that this is an opportunity not to be wasted. So it's hard for any living creature to achieve birth in a human form. Strength of body and will are even harder to obtain. This is one version of explanation. Purity is even harder still. Harder even is the desire to lead a spiritual life. So it is sugar-coated. This one is sugar-coated, I feel. As for the discriminate understanding between Atman and Anatman and Atma Sakshatkara and finally Moksha, these cannot be obtained except through the merits of 100 billion well-lived lives. There is no caste system. I will not go there. I won't debate no caste system and Varna and all that at this point of time. It is not the place for it. But I don't know
Sorry, Ji.
I don't know what the context of
No. You are saying that, sorry to interrupt. You have been telling that have taken the human birth. Yes, that is the how many janmas we have been as meditator to take this janma birth. But being Brahmanan, there is nothing called Brahmanan. It's about everybody has to go into that knowledge. Whatever you said, truth knowledge, eternal knowledge. That way is what I just said. Because you use the word Brahmanan, in that way, there is no caste I mentioned. Thank you.
I disagree. I'm sorry. It's not about caste. I think please don't mistake. There is Varna, there is caste. There is Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra, Kshatriya. We don't need to be apologetic about it. There are 4 Varnas. And among those varnas, here it is clearly mentioned, Viprata. There is nothing to feel upset or feel to be proud. It is a responsibility. There are a lot of explanations that we can go through. As I said, this is not the time for it.
No. Caste system here, our acharyas have not mentioned it. Therefore, let's not bring up into it. Brahman, let's say like we are learning into the Brahman, the knowledge. That's all I also learned from my gurus. So therefore, there is no caste system. So everybody is learning towards the knowledge of things.
Okay,
Hence,
because
that's
you are
my
repeating
request.
it again, obviously, I want to know what you mean by caste system here. What is which one did you refer to here as caste? Viprata.
You were mentioning about Brahman.
Viprata means Brahmana.
Maybe there could be a different meaning. I'm not well versed in so
Why
much
should
in
there be a
language.
different meaning? My question
No,
is, why
that
should there
is
be a
not
different meaning?
Brahmana. Maybe it could be a Brahman, the knowledge itself it could have meant. Not the.
So that's the point, isn't it? The one who is trying to attain Brahmajnana is Brahmana.
You mean that Brahmana means like we are talking going into the caste system? No? That is where that word I just don't want to use it. Rather, we'll
What
mention
would you
it
want
as
to, okay, what is the word you would want to use instead of, for instance,
Brahman or knowledge.
Brahman is the knowledge, but the one who attains that knowledge, one who is pursuing that knowledge, what do you call him? What do you call
Yogam.
him?
You gotta call him as a spiritual or a yogam. So,
But spiritual is an English word, right?
yogam.
Yogam,
Brahmana only. One who
yogam,
got the knowledge of Brahman or one who is in the pursuit of Brahman is a Brahmana. No doubt at all.
yogam is not the karta.
No,
Yogi,
I'm not
yogi,
talking about,
yogi,
but
yogi
when
is
we
the
speak,
karta.
when we speak about Brahmana, for in the society, it will be reflecting as a caste system. That is
No,
where,
it doesn't. It doesn't. That is the fear we have, and that's the conditioning we have developed. We are talking about Varna, we may be, when we talk about
no, not even the Varna. I'm not even getting into the Varna. I
What
disagree
is Varna and
completely.
what is caste?
Let's not get into it. It's because of this getting time. So please continue, Ji. But it refers to us. Maybe we have to seek some other word. That is what I'm putting forth here.
Why don't you
Brahma.
also go back to speak to your Guruji and get answers? But I'm looking at etymology. One who tries to look for Brahmajnana, he is called Brahmana. Karshaka, one who does Krishi, is a Karshaka. Okay, so that is how it is. There are words. There is a karta there, and the one who is doing that karta has got the word Brahmana. These are the remaining bits are societal implications is what you are afraid of, and we don't need to be afraid of is what I'm saying.
I mean, it's not for afraid. There is no system of, okay, that is what understanding. I will also will check, but here, anytime when I take my presentation to, never I use that. I use instead of Atma Jnana, or the soul, or the Paramatma, or the Brahman. This is what I.
Okay. So Sri Rajagopalan Iyengarji is volunteering to have a discussion with you. He also follows Vaishnava Sampradayas through Sri Ramanujacharya. He'll be happy to discuss with you. Is that what you're saying, Rajagopalanji?
Namo Namaha. What she is telling is to a certain extent correct, and what you are telling is also correct. But the understanding of Sri Vaishnavam in the Sri Ramanujacharya's principle, one has to go through the Vedanta Sara, and at the same time there are some sort of different steps to follow that one. So that when you go for Ramanujacharya's philosophy, there is nothing called moksha. We call it Charanagati. So these are the difference, how it differs from the Advaita and Vishishta Advaita. There are some subtle variations are there. The concept is there. Whereas we call Vishishta Advaitam goes with the Chit, Chaitanyam and Ishvara, whereas it is not so with Atma and Paramatman goes with respect to the Advaita. So these are the concepts we have to understand. And in case if she wants on a higher detail, because I actually I am a vanshaj of Sri Ramanujacharya from Kumbakonam. I'm from the same genealogy. At the same time, I am preaching, teaching Veda, Vedanga, and all those philosophies to different students. So with different concepts of Vedanta Sara. So in case the person is interested in understanding this one, it is a very vast, intricate subject of philosophy. So the Brahmana, what definition you have given is also very much correct. The person who following Brahmatvam or see, Brahmanam is different and Brahmatvam is different, and at the same, that is why the difference is coming. Chit, Achit, and Ishwaram. See, there are the concepts which goes much more beyond the scope of your talk, as you are very specifically told, and you are touching upon the concept through moksha concepts. So when moksha concept is coming, that is has got a different way of understanding. So in any case, if anybody is interested, either they can join my classes, which I am taking on a very in-depth all those things, or if she wants, she can contact me. I can explain her in a much more lucid and easiest way.
Jay, you have already mentioned that. Thank you so much. Brahmanan and Brahmatvam. So probably the word could be put here as Brahmatvam instead of
Yes,
Brahman.
ma'am.
That is
Actually,
that is where
see,
I'm trying.
Brahmana, when you say that any Veda has got a Samhita, Brahmanas, Upanishad, and like that. So that Brahmana concept means we should not take into the Varna Shastra concept. There is nothing called Varna Shastra in Veda time. So Varna
But
is not at all.
everybody is in this Maya, right? I mean, first thought
Maya is
process.
again totally different. Maya is totally different.
No.
See,
Everybody thinking process will go. That is why let's even talk about
Brahmana means
Brahmatvam.
immediately we jump into the conclusion of what you call Varna Shastra. Varna Shastra, even if you
Exactly.
in the Mahabharata time, if you go into the description where what you call Bhishma is lying on the bed about to depart, the Krishna comes, and when they discuss all those things at the time, even Yudhishthira says, from where this Varna has come, because otherwise unnecessarily Karna has been put into the trouble. So at that time, even Bhishma says that I myself don't know when this concept has cropped in. Otherwise, Krishna says, he asks Krishna. Then Krishna also says the same thing. Somehow or the other, if you go through the complete Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam, you will understand.
We'll come
This is a
back
very
to-
vast subject.
Thank you. Yeah, I
Okay.
think we'll come back to.
Yeah, let it continue by
I
the
think we are
Srinivasa.
diverting the topic. Please, sir, please
See,
take it.
Just a minute, please. First of all, I do believe that this was not the place to start this discussion, but because it started, it shouldn't be left incomplete. I will just say two things here. If there are so many differences, what is the common thing that connects us all? Okay, that is for us to discuss, not today, but we need to reflect upon. The finer details are going to be different in various mata, whether it is Ramanuja, whether it is Shankara, and so on. Number two. Number three, what do we do with the words Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra, Kshatriya, as mentioned in Purusha Sukta? If we say that that is not part of Veda, please look at it. I don't know. I'm not an expert on Veda. What do we do with the mention of Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Shudra in Bhagavad Gita itself? Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. So why did Krishna himself mention it? Are we going to therefore conclude I am only going to be interested in factual evidence-based kind of methodology? I'm not interested in discussing variations elsewhere. If Bhagavad Gita is to be taken as a pramana, Chaturvarnyam is mentioned there. And then we go into the details of Shauryam Tejo Dhritirudaksham Yuddhe Chapya Palayanam Kshatram Karma. There the mention is Kshatram. Then the earlier shloka is about Brahmana. Why do we have mention of those things? So let us I think first step is to not make assumptions that this is the only way to understand. If you have evidence, please demonstrate it. Maybe next session, please bring evidence to dispute the very understanding of or usage of the word Brahmana. I feel that our society is so badly tarnished mentally that we don't want to use the Varna Vyavastha words mainly because categories because of the stigma attached to it. This is a fear we have to overcome as well. And if Sanatana Dharma has to be truly represented, I don't understand why this has not got any relevance. Please let us have a discussion or a debate at one point of time somewhere down the future where we once and for all decide whether Varna system exists or relevant to Sanatana Dharma or not.
As such,
We
a Varna
can't,
system, excuse me.
but we can't just hope for it to be brushed aside. That can't be the case.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
A Varna system, it's the responsibilities that are given to the men. These are responsibilities. Responsibility of one to spread knowledge, responsibility to do the Kshatriya Dharma, responsibility of doing Vaishya Dharma, the responsibility of doing Krishna Dharma. These are the dharmas. These four dharmas are divided in a Varna system. This Varna, nowadays, politically, this is a different shape. But as a matter of fact, the main purpose, everywhere you find only these four things are existing. Even in our systems also, if you see any public sectors or anywhere, there is general management with the brain and the ministers and all these things. These are all only four categories. These four categories, we are calling it as a Kola, Varna and all these things. They are all only, in those times, they have mentioned that their responsibilities. Some people who are brainly people, they are given to spread the knowledge, to understand the knowledge, and to make people aware about the society and the knowledge. The other people to rule.
Yes,
Like
understand what you're saying. We'll leave it there, but I'll really be happy if this debate is organized so we all learn together. I don't want to upset people, and I had to stop myself. I didn't want to upset. The reason being, when I say upset, we need to look at historical chronology of where the words have started without looking at the etymology, without looking at the time scales. For us to believe that those never existed, I find it not the right way to discuss and debate. So this is where research is flawed. We are not doing any good research at all. We are all picking up things from hearsay and our own kind of. Let us invest time. Maybe let us become those true researchers where we spend hours every day on the subjects, choose one subject at a time, and let us do it that way. But we're not doing it. So the key points from this is that we go through many lives, that we are the Atman, and that we should not waste this golden opportunity to work towards attaining moksha. So those are the key points, that there are many lives that we have to go through. And if it is many lives, why are we having so many lives? Why can't we put a stop to it? And we are taking many lives because we are the Atman, the second one. And the third is, okay, enough of messing up with lives. This time, let me get it right. So that's the attitude that one has to develop. And how do we do that? We can only do it through application of principles of dharma. Without that, it is not going to be possible. Okay, so this is where we're running short of time. I want to bring in my own version of what I call as dynamic dharmic algorithm. And I call it becoming Rama. See, complexities of worldly dharma is multidimensional and momentary as well. So multidimensional challenges. And momentary, when I say that dharma may apply only for a moment, and the next minute that dharma may be inapplicable altogether. So multidimensional and momentary. Let us, for example, say that you are a very nice man and you follow dharma. A person in need of help has asked for a financial favor and you helped the person. Okay? That's the natural thing to do. However, the person comes back in a few moments to ask for more money. Maybe he has tasted that, okay, this guy gives me money, so let me try one more time. So what do? What does anybody do here? I would think people stop for a pause for a moment to think, why is this guy back? He's exploiting me, or I should be a little careful this time. So this time I'm exercising a different dharma altogether. I'm not going to name what dharma it is. Dharma doesn't have to have, it could be several names. Earlier dharma is kindness. The dharma here is caution. You can call it by whatever names, but the point is that earlier you were helping that person. The second time you were helping yourself by safeguarding yourself. So momentarily that changed altogether. So your first action may have been based on dharma of compassion and love, whereas the second one was protecting yourself from exploitation. And why do I call it an algorithm? I call it an algorithm because you can train yourself in such a way that in your mental mapping, you can overrule one for the other. Right? And what is an algorithm? So I'm giving an explanation here so it's easy for us to understand. So it's a sequence of steps or set of rules for executing a certain activity or solving a particular problem. So in other words, it is a roadmap to accomplish a complicated task. Even for a simple thing like tea making, laundry, basic functions for performing mathematical operations, or even complicated formulas. Algorithms are there everywhere. So what we do is algorithmic. We actually have array of dharmas. We pick one at a time, depending on the situation, we apply them. We throw a dharma away if it is not applicable. We bring another one. We use it, throw it away, bring another one. And sometimes we hold on to one dharma dearly only to be unwillingly put aside to push one dharma into place, because there is no choice. There are conflicting dharmas, and in that situation, both are equally right, but you have to choose one. It works like that, and it has to be very quick. A lot of times, it has to be very quick as well. So who was that person who actually kind of did a good job of this? Rama himself. So Rama was an expert on working through such kind of a dynamic dharmic algorithm. And how does it help? It helps you it increases the ability to make reasonably quick choices, relatively fair, and then probably right decisions as well. You also learn to accept responsibility for the decision, and then you accept the consequences as well. Because when a particular situation is likely to go equally right or equally wrong, you'll have a lot of people throwing mud at you. Lot of displeased people in the opposite camp will be throwing a lot of murk on you. But you are prepared to accept consequences. You can relate easily to Rama's life. Rama would have had such situations so many times. with Sita's situation or depending on other situations. But for Rama, it is the dharma which has to be followed, which means he has to have a critical thinking ability and then go with one choice, even though it may equally be wrong as much as equally right. But the idea is not to shy away from taking the decision. So another person may say, oh God, I'm equally right or equally wrong. I'm going to sit on a fence. I won't do anything. But that is not following dharma. That is like escaping your responsibility. So this is how it works. And Rama was an expert. And if we want to become better leaders, if we want to actually gain better control on our emotions, if we want to have a regret-free kind of a life, this method has to be actually applied, or dharma has to be followed to begin with. Okay. We need more people, as I said, in this world who can become such dharmic leaders. At the end, Sanatana Dharma is beneficial at all levels only when it is practiced. Sanatana Dharma is not pacifist, but is practiced by one who is courageous, loving at the same time, compassionate, decisive, and also follows truth. Bhagavad Gita teaches all these things. Nirbhayam, it teaches. Samadrishti, love, it teaches. Decisive, Nishchaya Buddhi, several places it talks of Nishchaya Buddhi, it teaches. So as much as we can learn from Bhagavad Gita, we can also learn from Rama himself as an example. I will present a scenario from Valmiki Ramayana's Ayodhya Kanda, and we'll see how it possibly applies in his life. Unlike in a television series or movies where Rama is shown always to be in control of his emotions, whether it is Arun Govil playing Rama in television Ramayana, it's all plasticky, no expressions whatsoever. He has to have a very sattvika facial expression all the time, irrespective of whatever the situation is. Is it the case or is it not? If you look at Valmiki Ramayana's version, of course, his is the original. Ramasta brashamayasto nishwasanniva kunjaraha jagama sahito bhratra maturantah puram vashi. Deeply pained yet self-possessed Rama, heaving sighs like an elephant, went towards the inner apartment of his mother along with his brother. What did we see in session 1 and session 2? If you remember, we had trigger, action, we had trigger, thoughts, emotions, actions, right? And let's say somebody has a fear, anxiety, or depression, they will actually experience bodily symptoms like their heart is beating fast, they may be sweating, they may be having reeling sensation, tingling, breathing very heavily. All these things are part of these kind of distressing emotions. From this description, it is clear that Rama was humanly experiencing those kind of unpleasant emotions. So it goes along with what I was saying earlier. Dharma allows you to buffer your emotions like a shock absorber, but you may not completely escape the impact of it. So before anybody jumps the gun to say anything, Rama, of course, practices dharma. And because he practices dharma, even though he experiences the emotions, he will still be able to have a better overview of life, relations, choices, and so on. So it's important to understand the human experience of Rama here. We can also observe that it is our cognitive learning and application of concepts of spirituality that is important, while emotions are expected to be experienced. Let's compare Dasharatha, Kausalya, Lakshmana, and Rama here. The same situation where, I forgot to mention the context. The context is Rama had been told by Dasharatha that he is going to be exiled. That is the context. And that is when he was returning back from Dasharatha's chamber towards Kausalya's, his mother's chamber, on his way, he was sighing like an elephant because he was so distressed with what he had unexpectedly heard. To make things worse, possibly he would have gone to Dasharatha's chamber expecting discussion on his coronation the next day. Instead, he hears just the complete opposite of it. So Dasharatha was extremely guilty and he had grief of separation from Rama. So that obviously shook him so much. He was grieving. Emotions and thoughts were influenced by attachment to Rama. Kausalya also similar, emotionally distraught with grief and disappointment. So they're all experiencing the same aspects of emotional distress. Lakshmana was having a lot of anger and vengeance. He in fact says, let us wage a war against Dasharatha. And Rama instead, while he was experiencing the emotions, he's still able to, he's using his buddhi, the intellect, to manage his thoughts and decisions. And in turn, what he does is, through his buddhi, he reigns in the emotions, leading to contentment, at some peace. He buys peace. He comes back to peace somehow, making sure that the topsy-turvy emotions are in control, having processed them through his buddhi or the intellect. So this is how there are differences in this aspect. I think people may be tired by now. I'll stop in case tell me if we are tired, and I'll stop so we can continue the next session. We can complete it next week. Shall we stop? So we can have some questions or anything, and let me know.
How long you may take now?
I see we are in the middle of it. I think it'll take at least another 20 minutes to complete this concept. So I would rather do it next week. But
Okay.
I'm happy to feel get a feeler from the audience, whatever they wish to say.
Okay, audience, please, what is your opinion?
Dr. Ji, if you can complete in 15 minutes, then it's okay.
Okay, so thank you for volunteering with that. Anybody else? Anybody else seconds that view?
Yeah, the thread goes away. If you just leave the class now and start again next class, the thread of mind, if you are leading the people to a particular direction, it goes away.
Sorry,
It's better to continue and finish it off.
Continue it, finish it off. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, continue, sir.
Okay, let's see how it goes, because I know we may be getting tired because it's already 1.5 hours.
Yeah, change your topic and give a 1 minute break of question answer and then go ahead.
So can you start from the previous slide? I want to see it again. It's possible.
This one here. Okay.
How it's make a difference means I want to see for the Dashrath ji and from the Rama point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. The next few slides hopefully can give some understanding. But I'm trying to give you an understanding that ultimately they are all human here. We are all human. everybody is experiencing emotional distress. It's a very distressing situation for everyone there, including Rama. So it's not about winning, sorry, not winning, but it's not about Rama being a god. Therefore, it's an easier explanation. If you go down the route of an explanation where, but Rama is an incarnate, therefore, obviously, he already knows what is happening. I don't buy that argument because that is not how it is written in Valmiki Ramayana. In Valmiki Ramayana, it doesn't give any flavor, at least in this context, that he is aware of what is going to happen, or he is aware that he is a Paramatma, he is an incarnate, divine incarnate, and therefore, no. Nicely, it ties in a few things which are important for us humans. Perhaps that is why I respect and love Rama more than anything else. So we'll see. But the point of the slide here is everyone in that situation is suffering. Dasharatha for his reasons, Kausalya for her reasons, Lakshmana because he is such a devoted brother of Rama, he can only think of how Rama had been wronged by that old king who is lustful. I mean, I'm just giving you a flavor of what may have been going through Lakshmana's mind. He could not say no to that young wife of his, and then he is allowing his rightful son to be vanquished into the forest. So he's very upset and angry. Rama himself, we have seen in the earlier shloka, how he was also distressed. Can I proceed?
Yeah, here all the four have got the emotions. What the thing is, and nobody is above the emotions. That's what we want to conclude, right?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but how Rama has handled that is in a different angle. Lakshmana handled in a different angle.
Yeah.
Kausalya handled in a different angle, and Dasharatha handled in a different angle. But all have handled their emotions. And Rama is also having emotions.
But we'll learn from Rama's experience, and that is what this whole process is about.
One thing I want to add here, it is Lakshmana's angle is dharma also, not only just having love to Rama.
Yeah.
His angle of argument there in that sarga was about dharma also. It is adharma. So when adharma is happening, we have to act for it. We have to react to that. That's what he is feeling.
Absolutely, I agree.
So we should not keep quiet. We should not just accept the adharma going on.
Absolutely.
But whether it's adharma or dharma is decided by Rama.
Yes.
Very true. He says it is dharma. It is such a dharma. That's what.
But interestingly, even Dasharatha was following dharma, wasn't he? Because he gave
word. That's why he could not say anything.
Yes, absolutely. He gave a word.
And Rama understands that dharma. That's why he says it's not adharma in the angle of Satya Dharma Paripalana, Satyam Vada.
Yeah.
For the Satyam Vada rule, the basic rule of Veda, is cannot be contradicted. That's why that is ultimate. So that's what realized by Rama and control his emotions.
So now, beautiful. Thank you for bringing that discussion. We can easily see how Dasharatha's dilemma of equally right, equally wrong comes into play. So if he allows Kaikeyi's wishes to be granted, he is equally at a loss because he is wrongfully denying Rama his crown.
One second here. Kaikeyi has got a right. She feels at that point of time.
Yeah.
Kaikeyi is feeling she has got a right to ask that boons.
I know.
So that right she is talking about.
I'm talking from Dasharatha's point of view. From Dasharatha's point of view, he has to follow Satyavak because he has given the boon to Kaikeyi. And even though it is an unpleasant or unethical request from her side, or unfair, not unethical, unfair, he has to abide by it because he had given a word. So as a king, he has to follow that the promise. But he's equally wrong. He knows it is hurting him mainly because he's denying the rightful legacy for Rama to occupy the crown. Same goes with anybody. I mean, that is the whole point of a very tricky situation where the dharmic dilemmas come into play. Okay, Vivek ji. Vivek Garg, please.
Sir, can we here compare? We can compare the dilemma of Dashaji with the Bhishma of Mahabharata.
What is
If
the
you can answer it right now or afterwards, after you.
You want to compare later?
Yeah, because I don't want to disturb you in between. But my question is that the dilemma of the Dashaji over here in the Ramayana, the same was the Bhishma was in the protection of the throne of the Hastinapur in that context.
I'm sure there are so many examples, but please feel free to talk about these examples, make note of them, and we can talk about them. But in the interest of time, I'll just go through the slides and we'll see how it comes across. Okay, so the following shloka says it loud and clear because how is Rama handling it different to others? He is explaining this to Lakshmana. Etaya tatvaya buddhya samstabhyatmanam vyahateapyabhisheke me paritapo na vidyate. So he is very clearly saying, even though my consecration was thwarted, there is no feeling of sadness in me. In fact, I controlled my mind by my intellect. So he's revealing the formula. He's trained himself having understood the same Bhagavad Gita shloka we can bring in here, which is that, what was it? Sorry, I forgot it now. Which basically says, Indriyani paranyahu. Indriyani paranyahu, indriyebhyah param manaha, manasastu parabuddhihi, yo buddheh paratastu saha. We'll forget about saha there, atma. But superior to the body are the senses. Superior to the senses is the mind. Superior to the mind is the intellect. So it is the intellect which we have to train. That is why we talk about sthita prajnata. That is why we talk about nishchaya buddhi, clarity in thinking. It is the mind, it is the intellect which has to be reined in or sharpened so that all the tools are utilized or put in place. Intellect is almost like a bird's eye view you have, and you can understand what is happening with your, it's a monitoring system, let us call it, it's a monitoring system. And wherever there are faults arising, it is able to rectify it. So Rama was able to understand that emotions were helter-skelter. He was really upset. The emotions were speaking the story. The very sighing of heaving sighs and all that is all emotion. But he clearly says that, I'm not saying it, right? He's saying there is no feeling of sadness in me. How I controlled my mind by my intellect. He has actually displayed three things there. One, he's spoken of intellect. Second is the mind. Through the intellect, he has controlled whatever thoughts were going on in his mind. So in the mind, thoughts would be like, how could my father do this to me? How could Kaikeyi do this to me? What wrong have I done? What will happen to me? What will happen to Sita? What will happen to Kausalya? So many thoughts would go through the mind at that point of time. And then there will be anger, there will be victimhood, there will be vengeance. All these things start coming through as a result of these thoughts. I'm sure we all can relate to that in our own personal lives. When we start thinking deeply, start fantasizing, I'm going to hit that guy, we are already kind of raging in our emotions. So the mind is losing control because it is thinking more than it should. Emotions are following the same pattern. Then with the intellect, you say, stop thinking that way. You're only unnecessarily making yourself more angry. So that's the intellect which is saying, stop, put a lid, distract yourself, go for a walk, have a bit of fresh air, watch a television, or do something. That's the intellect which is telling you to do that. So Rama knows very well. So if you look at this flow chart here, so there's an unfavorable situation leading to distress. And then what happens? It leads to initial distressing emotions. I put the word initial. It also brings in initial distressing thoughts. Initial is the key word here. Then what does he do? He starts using this strategy, the cognitive exercise of learning the dharma principles, recollecting the dharma principles at the time, practicing them at the time. Now, for us novices new to it, we will have to consciously remember them, bring them back. Oh, what do I do now? Okay, let me write down the principles. Okay, oh, this is what applies. Okay, and then, okay, so I need to apply this and so on. But for an expert, they all just come automatically because they have practiced it so many times. It just comes automatically. It's like driving a car, isn't it? When you have your first 2 lessons in your car driving, you have to look at the gear stick 1, 2, 3, and so on. It takes a lot of time to make gear changes. After you are become an expert, you automatically do it in a split second. So similarly for somebody like Rama, who is an expert by that time, you don't need to pay so much time. It just comes in automatically. The algorithm works very quickly in a very complex fashion. But for us, when we start practicing it, we should do it consciously in this fashion, learning, recollecting, and practicing them. And when you do that, it leads to contentment and you bring in the emotions back in balance. What's the advantage? So you come to terms with the situation then. So you come to terms with the situation. Yes, I know why Kaikeyi did this. He'll explain later. I now know why Kaikeyi did this. And then this understanding helps him better to cope with this unfavorable situation. So the vengeance has gone down, anger has gone down, he's no more anxious, he's no more afraid of going to the forest. None of those. Okay, I hope the formula has been clearly explained. Now we'll look at where he applied it. So he applies a Sobhisheka nivrutyarthaihi pravasarthaischa durvachaihi ugrair vakyairaham tasyaha nanyad daivat samarthaye. My mouth is getting dried up, so I'm unable to kind of read them as I would want to. So I'll go into the English. I do not find any reason other than destiny for the cruel and brutal words spoken by Kaikeyi with the objective of preventing my coronation and exiling me. So what principle has he applied here? Karma Siddhanta. Karma. Daivam. That is what he is referring to as Daivam here. Then the Sukhadukhe Bhayakrodao Labhalabhau Bhava Bhavau Yacha Kinchit Tatha Bhutam Nanu Daivasya Karma Tat. Happiness or misery, fear or anger, gain or loss, birth or death, and all such things are surely the acts of destiny. And then inconceivable is the power of destiny, he says. Its impact on all beings cannot be averted. That an adversity has befallen me, and Kaikeyi is therefore evident. Adversity has fallen on me and Kaikeyi. In fact, in another shloka says, Kaikeyi is nothing but an instrument in the design of karma here. When you actually apply it that way, he is already processing it in the right fashion. So what does it do? It removes the hatred. It is clear that Rama considers Kaikeyi was an instrument in the hands of karma. And by conceptualizing that way, he was able to remove her from the mind as an object of hate. So this removes hatred and brings forgiveness. She's saying, okay, poor lady, that's not her. She's just an instrument. Okay, I'm going to forgive her. Similarly, it makes me wonder if love as a concept is actually a cognition rather than an emotion. That's a different topic altogether. I won't go there. The minute I say I won't go there, let us stop it there because that's a little complicated. So I'll give you two scenarios here. One is fictional, another is aitihasic. So scenario one, if dharma was not applied by Rama, fictional, what would happen? So if Rama was angry towards Kaikeyi, considering her to be the culprit for his exile. So in Sanskrit, Ramasya Vanavasam, Bharatasya Abhishechanam was the dialogue by Kaikeyi. She said 2 boons, one Rama has to be exiled, Bharata has to be coronated. Rama takes it, if Rama took it this way, Kaikeyaha karanena mama vanavasam. Oh, it is because of this Dushta Kaikeyi that I am being exiled. So here Rama considers Kaikeyi to be an independent reason. If this is the situation, a fictional situation, Rama considers Kaikeyi to be the independent reason for the exile. Independent means not done by anybody else like karma. Naturally, he'll be angry towards her. All right. But that's not the case as per Itihasa. As per Itihasa, karma karanena Kaikeyi nimittamasti. Because of karma's actions, Kaikeyi is only following the karmic kind of plan and became an instrument. Where else do we know this? Again, we go back to Bhagavad Gita, we can know it. Where Krishna says, Lokan Samahatam Nimittamatram Bhava Savyasachin, he says in 11th Adhyaya. Kalosmi Lokakshayakrit Pravrittaha Lokan Samahartamiha Pravrittaha. I think that is where in that line it comes. So Nimittamatram Bhava Savyasachin. Oh Arjuna, you think you are actually killing all these people? No, I have already killed them, which means in future it's happening, but as per the plan, it has already happened. The plan had been written, signed off by me a long time back. You are just an instrument, that's it. All you need to do is just throw the arrows there. That is your job. You have no other job. And that is what he's supposed to do. Similarly, Kaikeyi is just an instrument to utter those words then. That is a role, that's it. So that is how Rama conceptualized it. And he was able to forgive her. Okay. So I'll leave it here. I think by now, perhaps we have covered the essence of it. And we
just
can
want to add here.
recap it then in the next session, and that should be good enough. Yes.
I just want to add here why Rama could take the decision like that. That's the karma only. Because he has experienced the love of Kaikeyi all throughout. An act that cannot be expected from Kaikeyi till now has been done. So that feeling he knows the Kaikeyi's mind all throughout all these years. All of a sudden, how this change has come. So that's something external agency is acting on it. That is karma. That's how he must have concluded in his mind. Because there are two contradictory.
Ultimately,
two
the
contradictory
exercise,
aspects have been seen in Kaikeyi now.
yeah, ultimately the exercise we are trying to look at is as described. It is thankfully it is not even my inference, because sometimes we get a little too touchy when we touch on sacred texts. People get quite easily upset. But thankfully, Valmiki himself has written that Rama says that I have used my own intellect to control my mind, and therefore I'm not experiencing sadness. And then he is the one who talks about karma being the one and so on. So I didn't have to do much of work apart from spotting these shlokas for me to kind of come up with this concept, what I call as
Valmiki does that all throughout the Ramayana.
yeah,
That concept of talking about negative and positive both. That Tarkam he does always, even in Sundarakand also with Hanuman also. He does always have that Tarkam. Throughout he does that.
All right. Thanks for sharing those. And it's obviously 6 o'clock. If anybody else has anything to say, add. We have one more session next week, and we finish this topic with that, as in psychology through ancient Indian literature. We will finish it by next week. Vivek ji, yes.
So in comparison between the Rama and the Mahabharata, we can see that both the Ramji and the Pandavas has never refused that the exile which forced on them, while they were knowing that the consequences will be the same. As what the Rama has also knows that the Bharat will come to me, and one day we have to reunite with our whole family.
That we don't know, right?
Okay.
That is an assumption.
But in the case of the Pandavas, they know the one day the war will happen. So
I mean, I haven't
why
read Mahabharata. I haven't read Mahabharata, so I won't be able to comment on it. But surely in Valmiki Ramayana, particularly when Bharata actually comes looking for Rama, Lakshmana is already getting worried, worked up about the reason why Bharata is coming. In fact, we feel sorry for Bharata because on his way, even Guha gets worried and upset. Oh, this guy is coming with a huge army. He gets upset. Lakshmana also gets upset. So I don't think we see Rama having that foresight that this is what is going to happen. See, we have so many versions of Ramayana afterwards, and people are at liberty. People have been at liberty to write their own versions of Ramayana later on. I don't know about those, so I can't comment on that.
When Lakshmana reacts, only Rama says was as a nature of Bharata, he is not of that type. He says that.
That's right. That's as much as
he knows his brother better.
Yes, that's as much as he says, but it's not to say that we can't infer that he knows Bharata will come.
He knows that. You cannot infer that. He knows that he is coming for asking to come back.
Thank you. Thank you. Dhanyawad.
Okay, I guess we can bring this to a close. Thank you so much again. We'll meet up next week.
Thank you, Srinivas Garu. Thank you so much. I request everybody to stay back for Prarthana and Janaganmana.
And join tomorrow class and next sessions also.
Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani paschyantu, ma kaschit dukbhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Swasti. Now let us go for reciting Vande Mataram. Request all of you to stand up.
Not Vande Mataram, Janaganamana.
Oh, sorry. Janaganamana. जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल वंगा। विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा। तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे। गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे। जय हिंद।
जय हिंद, जय हिंद, जय श्री राम, जय श्री राम।